Hey folks, Matt here, and in this video I'll be answering 15 new questions about my vinyl collection. So stick around, because I think you're going to dig it. So I discovered Scott's YouTube channel by his documented meetup with a couple other guys in the vinyl community, such being Metal Mickey and Mark G with a C. Basically they went to a metal show and they each shot a video discussing it. So after seeing those videos, I went over to Scott's channel, I subscribed because I liked what I saw, and then I saw his video called Question Time, which is a proposal of 15 questions to the vinyl community on their own collection, and it's basically like a vinyl tag. So I did one before, I liked it, so I'm going to do this one. Should be a lot of fun. So I'm going to be reading questions off camera. They're over there. You know the drill. Anyways, number one, name an album crying out for a reissue. Well, the fact that I don't have a physical album to show you should show you that this album came and went pretty quickly and is in desperate need for a reissue. Of course, I'm talking about Sonic Boom from Kiss. It is the only vinyl Kiss album, studio-wise, that I don't have in my collection. It's the big hole in the collection of my favorite band. So, Sonic Boom, for sure. Number two is a discography in your collection that is near completion. Could have said Kiss, right? Instead, I'm going to go with Lucifer. This is their second album. I have their third now as well. I'm looking for their first. So, Lucifer, for sure. God, she's cute. So number three is great cover, bad album. And I had to go through my collection long and hard to look for this one, but it kind of stuck out once I thought about it. It's Coven with Blessed is the Black. I like the cover a lot. It's interesting. I don't like this album, though. It's pretty lo-fi to some degree. It's really paint-by-numbers thrash in some levels. The lyrics are kind of silly. They sound like they were written by 14-year-olds. But I dig the cover quite a bit, so there you go. Number four is bad cover, great album. Little switch up there. So I went with Manowar. This is Into Glory Ride. Probably my favorite Manowar album, that or Hail to England. You know, I flip-flop with that. But this is a pretty ridiculous cover, you have to admit. I like the cartoon glove. It looks like it was almost drawn on after the fact. And they're in all of these amazingly awkward positions. I mean, look at Eric there. He's like, you know? So, anyways, great album, just ridiculous cover. Number five is a short album. I could have gone with a lot of choices here, and I could have stuck in metal, too. I think Rain and Blood is probably the obvious choice. I decided to go outside of this to go to hardcore punk, because the punk bands have all the short albums, don't they? Anyways, this is the Circle Jerks with Golden Shower of Hits. The time on this is 27 minutes and 43 seconds, so pretty short, for sure. Number six is a song that introduced you to a genre you love. I thought of extreme metal. And back in 1984, when I did get into that subgenre, before that I was listening to Quiet Riot and Judas Priest and AC/DC, but this was a real jump up in terms of extremity in my metal listening, and that was definitely black metal from Venom. It was definitely the cover that grabbed me. There's the chin in case we're blocking it. And I love this album dearly. So this is the album that really did it. Right after this, I got Slayer and I got all the other bands. So there it is. Venom, black metal. Number seven is an album people wouldn't expect you to like. This is not metal, because people expect metal from me. But this is rather Gary Newman. This is The Pleasure Principle. This was the first Gary Newman album I bought. I think I was either 12 or 13 years old. Pretty excited about this album. I kind of liked New Wave in the beginning, but I liked the really kind of dark electronic-y kind of stuff, and I think Gary Newman was my gateway to that. I love this album dearly. Still listen to it to this day. So there it is. Gary Newman. Number eight is most anticipated album of 2020. Well, obviously I don't have it because it's not out yet. But I think out of the three I'm thinking about, King Diamond is coming out with an album called The Institute. Pretty excited about that. As well as the upcoming Anthrax album. And I know Megadeth is also working on an album too. It's slated to come out in 2020, but you never know these days. Especially these days. So there's my answer. Number nine is a band or artist you were late to the party with. I had to think about this one a little bit because I did get into a lot of bands pretty early. Not to brag, it's not even a brag point. You know, you get into bands when you get into them. No big deal. But there's one band that pretty much stuck out, and that's Amon Amarth. I didn't know they've been around for well over, 20, 25 years, I guess? I'm not even sure how long they've been around. 20 at least. And how did I not know about them until maybe a couple years ago? So, pretty strange. Of course, I like this album quite a bit. This is Berserker. And yeah, so there you go. Amon Amarth. So question 10 is, an album you play on a regular basis. Well, if I'm talking about more recently, a more short-term thing, it's definitely Midnight with Rebirth by Blasphemy. I play this goddamn record every day, it seems. Really love this band. I just bought one of the other albums that's coming, and then I got a few more to get as well. So this is a really great album. Highly recommend it. If we're talking more long-term, that is the album I go to, that I've been going to for decades, definitely Kiss with Creatures of the Night. I worship at the temple of this album. I love it. It's my favorite Kiss album. I can listen to it front to back. You know, if I'm at someone's house and like, hey, Matt, let's hear some Kiss. I'm like, this one, for sure. Definitely. Number 11 is a record you'd recommend that was 10 pounds or less, or a CD you'd recommend that was 5 pounds or less. Obviously, that's not American money, which it doesn't need to be. But I did the breakdown. That's $12.46 US for the vinyl. And I'm only going to talk about vinyl because clearly that's what I talk about. So I've got Quiet Riot with Metal Health. I originally bought this album on cassette back in 1983 when it was new. Later acquired this one, this vinyl copy, maybe about 5 years ago. And I think I paid about $8 or $9 for it. And I love this album, so I thought it was a bit of a steal. And there it is. So Quiet Riot, Metal Health. Number 12, the first and last album in your collection. I'm just going to go A to Z because my collection technically ends with various artists section, box section, and soundtracks. I'm not going to include that. So my very first album in my collection is Abattoir with Vicious Attack. This is their debut album. They had 2 or 3 albums. I love this album. It's a little bit more raw. It had their first singer. And yeah, so there's my A album. My Z album is probably not too hard to figure out if you've been watching my videos. And admittedly, a few of the other guys in the vinyl community have picked this album too because it's the Z album that hard rock and metal fans tend to own. It's not Zoetrope, which I wish I had, but rather Zodiac, Mind Warp, and The Love Reaction. Tattooed Beat Messiah is the album, and we all know how I feel about this album. I'm not a fan, but there it is. It's my Z album. Lucky number 13 is next, and it is an album that changed your opinion of a band or artist. And I'm going to go with Burn from Deep Purple. I like the Ian Gillan era Deep Purple, and I know there was an era before him as well. Obviously Mark I and Mark II respectively. This is Mark III for the Purple fans. I really am a huge fan of David Coverdale. I also like Glenn Hughes quite a bit. So this is the album that kind of changed my mind. I think before I was listening to Deep Purple or hearing it from friends, and I was like, I like it, but it needs something. And also, I think Smoke on the Water gets massively overplayed, not just as a song, but if you're in bands back in the 80s, for instance, and every guitar player you know plays that goddamn riff, you get sick of it. You almost take it out on the band itself. So it definitely took Burn to make me a Deep Purple fan. And incidentally, I like the Gillan stuff, just so you know. But now, number 14, one album you'd save in a fire. God, really make me choose between all of them, huh? It's crazy. Well, the funny thing is I thought about this and I came to one album pretty quickly. It's funny because of the title of the album and the fact that I'd be saving it from a fire. It's Overkill with Feel the Fire. This is my favorite Overkill album, though I like Horoscope quite a bit too. I think that's a fan thing. I think fans tend to pick those 2 albums a lot. This album is really amazing. This is what made me an Overkill fan. I probably talked about this before. I bought this back in 1985. So yeah, Overkill. I would save this from a fire for sure. And I'd feel the fire too while doing it. And number 15 is a debut album from 1986. That was the year that Scott was born. Scott, of course, is the one who came up with these questions. By the way, 1986, that's adorable. Not that you need to hear that. But anyways, I could have picked a number of debut albums. There's Flotsam and Jetsam, there's Vinnie Vincent Invasion, there's Sacrifice, So many. But I decided to go with Tony McAlpine, An Edge of Insanity. Tony McAlpine is a kind of a guitar virtuoso guy, kind of modeled after Yngwie Malmsteen, but probably fits in with Steve Vai and Joe Satriani as well. Very guitar-centric, as you could imagine, and an interesting little album. On Shrapnel Records, by the way. Great label. You should check out more stuff on Shrapnel for sure. Anyways, Tony McAlpine. If you're of the means, you should definitely answer these questions yourself, whether in video form or you can do it in the comments of this video. I'll leave a list of the questions in the description of this video, purely for convenience. Also, you should watch Scott's original video and check out his channel, maybe subscribe to it. I'll leave a link to the video, his video that is, in my video's description. So definitely check that out. Other than that, as always, like, subscribe, and share. Look, I used the other hand this time. And of course, if you want to support this network further, say you've been watching for a while and you like what you see, if you want to support me a little bit more, you can check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/theaccusationnetwork. And there you'll find bonus content, extra stuff, and you'll get to see my videos up to 7 days early. So definitely consider going there. And as always, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.